Hi Peaches, it's Shaaba. Welcome back and thank you for clicking on today's episode. It's Monday and you know what that means? It's time for us, me and you, to go fishing for a-holes. Whoop! And also Surfshark. Oh. A big thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. If you don't already know, Surfshark is a VPN, a virtual private network, with over 3,000 servers worldwide working really hard to keep you safe. And not just to keep you safe, but also to unlock some special goodies with the help of a virtual location. Goodies like lower prices and geo-restricted games, and it also helps you access censored sites, right? You can bypass that. And you know what else you can access? Content libraries from all around the world so that you can watch movies like you're gonna judge me for this one, but it's so fun. It is so fun. Go on, I dare you to guess what this month's Surfshark review is gonna be. You're gonna be so shook, but I loved it. I really did. Movies like K-pop Demon Hunter. It's on Netflix, and if you haven't seen it already, you really have to give it a go. It's amazing. But whether you've seen it yet or not, sit down, grab yourself a cup, and let me recap it for you. Don't worry, there's not actual real spoilers in this ad. So there's this trio of K-pop beauties, right? Imagine they're kind of like Totally Spies meets Powerpuff Girls, but Korean. Featuring a rather cute love story and really, really cool graphics, and actually a pretty banging soundtrack. And I am not a K-pop girly, so, you know, take that however you will. These musician girlies come from a generation of demon hunters, and through the connection of their fans, they create this shield called the Honmoon, which blocks demons from the world, which saves people. It's kind of like Tinkerbell, but instead of fairies, it's I do believe in K-pop. I do. But there's this baddie called Guima, who hacks into all of their fans' phones and tries to steal all of their data, like their credit card information and their browsing history, because what he really wants is their souls, but he can't get that yet, and he's really bitter about it. So the main protagonist singer of the badass girl group, right? She's kind of like Frozen-esque, very conceal, don't feel. She even has the plat, and she's got a secret, but I can't tell you what that is because I don't want to spoil it for you, and it is very good. But she goes to the bathhouse to enlist the help of none other than Surfshark. Ta-da! And Surfshark, with the help of the best feline in the world, quite possibly one of the best characters to ever exist in any animation ever, they team together to do just that, to help the fans. They install Surfshark VPN on all of their fans' devices, keeping them safe by masking their IP addresses so Guimar can't find them, encrypting their data, and even enabling things like ad blockers and cookie pop-up blockers. Do you know how useful that thing is? So the very evil but very, very pretty henchmen could make as many phishing attempts as they wanted with their cute little songs and their abs and their swooshy hair, but all they got in return were vibes, baby. No souls, just vibes. The end. Good wins. Absolutely nothing sad happens at all. And if you want to watch the real plot, then you can do so alongside all other movies on content libraries around the world at any point with Surfshark VPN. And just for funsies, Surfshark is offering all of my little soda pops. I see you, Peach, watching this video. This link, surfshark.com/Shaaba, and this cute little QR code if you want to scan it, and the code Shaaba, which you can use at checkout for 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN to keep you connected and safe. I talk about it enough. I use Surfshark every single day. You can use it on an unlimited number of devices, and there's also a 30-day money-back guarantee. No risk and absolutely no drama here. You can check out the details downstairs in the description box, but for now, I'll stop thinking about that movie and we can get on with the show. Let's go. You're through to 1-800-DRAMA, the show where you share your biggest dilemmas and I help you navigate them. I'm Shaaba, and with your help,
and sometimes mine,
let's help people figure out if they are the drama, because sometimes you just need an outside perspective and we can all expand our own mindsets along the way. Are you ready to dive deep into the a-holes? Let's go. Would I be the drama? You know how I love a good would I be the drama, and we're starting with one. I don't think that's ever happened before. Would I be the drama for bailing on a girls' trip turned couples trip? Let's see if we can help this Peach out. I was on the 1-800-DRAMA subreddit today, and somebody had suggested, and a couple of other Peaches had been like lifting it up to be like, please see this. I've seen it. I think it's so clever. A little petition to call them Peaches. So right here, I'm going to try and make that happen for you because it's so damn cute. So let's see if we can help Peach out. You ready? Peach says, so my best friend decided for her birthday she wanted a girls trip. Capital G, capital T. This means something, right? When I think girls trip, I think about the movie Girls Trip, which is pretty funny. And it's havoc, and often a lot of booze, and often total chaos, which is just another word for havoc. And it's women letting go of their inhibitions and just doing their little thing, being a little bit bananas. Yeah, sure. Okay, we've booked a cabin and we've got bathing suits and budgeted for food and stuff. The whole idea was it was going to be just us girls, Bestie, me, and our other mutual bestie, so 3 best friends. I see you, this is very cute. And we have been planning this girls' trip for months, says O-Peach. At some point during the final planning over the last 2 weeks, Bestie's husband expressed his feelings were a little hurt that he wasn't invited. I don't know why I gritted my teeth at the end there, I can see how FOMO happens. I can also see from the title of this post that you're not happy about that. And I do think that there's a time and a place to have partners involved and a time and a place to not have partners involved. I don't even think it necessarily has to be gendered in any way. It can just be because you guys have that nostalgia. You guys have that chemistry and that bond. And I can also see a world in which, contexts grow and groups grow. So it's very context dependent, but let's see the rest of this. So now the husband is coming. She also invited mutual bestie's new boyfriend, so it's 2 couples going, and me. Note, says O-Peach, I am a lesbian and my partner is working abroad for the summer and all my other friends are busy, so I don't have anybody to bring with me. More. Well, also, not more, because this was supposed to be a girls' trip with just you and your besties. So I do think it's sad. It is sad that just 2 weeks beforehand, the trip is changing entirely, quite substantially. Having 2 couples come along and essentially being the 5th wheel is a noticeable dynamic shift. It doesn't need to be a bad dynamic shift, but it's noticeable. Let's continue with the post. O-Peach says, I'm kind of sad and annoyed because this girls' trip has turned into a couples trip and the cabin that we rented only has 2 bedrooms. Oh, so I'm going to be the odd one out sleeping on an air mattress. That's not okay. Are you paying the same amount? What were you going to do beforehand? Were 2 of you going to share a bed, but now you can't because there's just more bodies? Because you should not be paying the same amount if there are now 2 couples going and you have to have not a room. How long is the girls' trip for? I need more information. How long would you be on an air mattress for? I don't think we have this information, but O-Peach does ask, would I be the drama if I therefore bailed on this trip? I don't want a refund for my part in the cabin rental or the gas money, or I just really don't want to be the 5th wheel sleeping alone in the living room whilst the couples cuddle and stuff, and I don't want to be the one lagging behind whilst the happy couples hold hands and stuff. I know a part of this is due to my jealousy that my partner's not here and theirs are, but I'm also just really upset. This is supposed to be a girls' trip, now it's turned into a couples trip, and me. I get it, babe. Would I have assumed that it was jealousy in any way? I'm not sure if I would have done. I was going to say, I push back on that jealousy part, because I think if you're happy in your relationship and you're also happy spending some time apart, I don't think that one can just jump to the idea of jealousy. I can understand the FOMO of them now bringing their partners and you not being able to bring some, but I hope it's not your friends calling you jealous, because that's not fair. It's just you wanting a certain dynamic, which you had been planning for. You're very entitled to want that. I also think that it is a very different vibe because the 2 partners that are coming are at different stages of the relationship. You have one bestie with husband, sure, okay, maybe you guys will know each other as well, you're hanging out together, but the other one is mutual bestie's new boyfriend. That does make a difference. Do you not feel that that makes a difference? Going on a trip with somebody new means you're now going to be keeping an eye out, judging, not in a bad way, but just checking them out, rating them, seeing if they fit within your friendship group. But also that comes with being a little bit more reserved because you can't be as open or as free as you might be if it was with a group of people that you just knew really well, right? So I do think it's a little bit, am I childish for saying this? I don't think so. I'm just saying, I think it's a bit unfair that this has been sprung on you and it wasn't a choice that you got to make. I also think it's very fair that you're probably being too fair in being I don't want the money back. I don't need the gas money. I don't need the cabin money. I just don't want to go, because you also shouldn't be paying for something that you're not attending. All of this to say, whilst I would like some more information on how long the trip is, whether you are paying the same amount as the other people and what you would have done in terms of the bedroom, just for the finances stuff, right? If the partners, your besties, were not coming, I really, really do not think that you are the drama at all. That is absolutely my badge. The husband's maybe just being a little bit butthurt and a little bit silly about being oh, but I want to come along. Maybe because he's heard such wonderful things and he gets on with you all really well, which is sweet and cute. But I also think you need to understand that there's a time and a place. And if you guys have been planning this for months, you totally deserve to be able to carry out that plan, especially if it's not going to be equal. You can't bring your partner because that wasn't the plan and your partner's away. I just feel like it's a bit of a, what's the word? Foresight? Overlooking? It's a bit silly of your friends to not realise that dynamic difference and being well, should we ask if all partners can come? And then seeing that you would absolutely be the 5th wheel not being there with your partners, being oh, well, this is unbalanced and not what we had in mind. No, let's leave the partners at home. That's absolutely fine to do. Silly, silly, silly. Silly, 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 but you, oh Peach, are not the drama. Should we see if other people agree? Not the drama at all. They changed the entire purpose of the trip. No one wants to be a fifth wheel, and they aren't out any money. They do owe you, because now instead of 3 people, there'll be 4 if you bail, and they absolutely should return your money. I do agree. I do think that you're being far too kind and being like, I don't want it back. I can understand though that there's no like easy way to have that conversation, but at the same time, it's not your fault that it's made difficult. It's their fault because they entirely changed the nature of a trip that wasn't what you signed up for and put your money towards. And that is actually also a very good point, that if they are having more people coming along, even if you do decide to continue going, you should be getting more of your money back, because that cost of gas and that cost of the accommodation is now going to be split between 5 people, not just the 3 of you. And especially if you are on an airbed, that makes me really sad. Smad for sure, because you don't deserve to be doing something different and like essentially being downgraded and now not having a bed or like a space that you would have shared as a bedroom just because someone else has invited other people along. No. This commenter continues to say, I assume the plan was going to be you would get a bed or shared bed when it was the 3 of you, and now you're downgraded to an air mattress. Hell no. Okay, I'm so glad I'm not the only one that's annoyed about this. My back is feeling sorry for you. Cancel. Say it would be cool if you got your money back, seeing as they'll recoup their losses with the extra person, and that you'll look forward to the makeup girls trip. That's interesting. It's a way to do it. I guess it also depends on things like your finances. Like, can you all afford to take another trip that's a girls trip? And if that's what the plan is, then why not just keep this on a girls trip anyway? And when I say afford, I don't just mean in terms of money, but also like in time taken off of work or other commitments like dependents that you might have. It can be effort as an adult. I really wish that I had way more time to see my friends, but it's hard. It's hard to do it once, so to have to do it twice for a makeup trip, I'm not sure if that's something that everyone would be on board with, and I definitely don't think that this is being seen as an additional trip, where a girls trip with exclusive you 3 is going to happen later. So I think the better strategy, in my opinion, is just to be honest, and not to be like, oh, I look forward to the makeup one, but like, hey, I was really hoping that this would be this one. It has changed. It's not something that I feel that I'll be able to enjoy as much because I can't participate in the same way anymore, so I'll just leave you guys to it. It's cool. PayPal me the extra when you can. And I do like the idea of highlighting that technically it's going to be cheaper because there's more people now. There's my little bit of toxic positivity just popping in to be like, hey, just lightening the blow. Not the drama. They changed what kind of trip it is. Get your refund. They now have a 4 people split, so it should be sort of gracious to give you back what you put in. If they say that you're overreacting, ask which of them wants the air mattress if it isn't that big a deal. Oh! I see you. I absolutely do think that's fair. Hang on. This is what I'm saying. Were you gonna be on an air mattress initially, or were you gonna share one of the bedrooms with the bestie? Because that is a really substantial need more information point that, you know, kind of makes or breaks this point as being a point that you can argue. No, not that you should have to rely on solid argumentative points that you could potentially win. This isn't a court of law. This is you with friends, and you should be able to be honest and, you know, like have this environment where you can be like, oh, this is annoying me a little bit. I'm just letting you know. But I understand that it is easier said than done. Even among healthy friendship groups, it's not nice to have conversations that you know are probably going to highlight some aspect of guilt and are going to make other people feel uncomfortable. But you know what else is not nice? They're making you feel uncomfortable. So you deserve to share how you feel. What kind of husband gate crashes what is clearly a girls' trip? Is he a bit controlling or just a complete sad sack? Ooh, this is so harsh. I'm gonna be really honest, my head didn't go to controlling, though I can absolutely see a world in which this is the case. In fact, I'm pretty sure that was a movie or a TV show, like on this exact issue, where husband was indeed very controlling. Regardless, my head just went to FOMO, and I do get it. But I also understand how other people might not be able to get it, and I guess how open-minded you are to the idea of this being a thing entirely depends on how you function within your relationship and your friendship groups. There are some couples, do I include myself in this? I think I probably do, where all of the friends that we have, 99%, 90% of the friends that we have are shared, and typically it's just easier when like similar groups of people hang out together. So couples will often hang out with couples to avoid the third wheeling situation, which is a real thing. It doesn't have to be bad. It's again just a dynamic change. And I think that makes sense if all of your friends are friends who are couples that you have made as a couple. Does that make sense? partners. Like if you as a couple are forming friendships, then they are forming friendships with both of you. But then there are, of course, situations where you can have friends from before you guys got together, in which case it is sometimes nice to have those moments of just the OG gang. I do get that. And I can also get, having introduced my partner Jamie to my OG friends and how like they're all now friends together too, how Jamie could feel a little bit left out from those situations. Even not just friendships, if I'm doing something with my siblings and it's like a cute little sister hangout, Jamie, who loves my sisters too, will be like, oh, but I like your sister as well, like maybe we can hang out together, or oh, I feel sad that I'm missing out on this thing. So absolutely, I can see a world in which it's being controlling, but I can also see a world in which it's like kind of a show of love, of just how healthy and wonderful you guys are as a giant network in being all friends. However, at the same time, I'd like to think that as a partner, I'd be able to go, and I know I can do this actually, I know I can, because I'm doing it this Friday. Something's happening where Jamie's going off with his friend, and I'm like, no babe, you have your time. It is okay. I will stay home. Because there's a time and a place, isn't there? There's a time and a place for everything. Oh God. You know when you hear yourself just like sounding like your mum? I feel like I'm doing that. The more and more as time goes on, I say these phrases and I'm like, oh God, they're right. These cliche phrases are coming back to haunt me. Or perhaps he is just a sad sack. Who knows? Not the drama. You got suckered into paying for their romantic getaway. This commenter says, I can guarantee your one bestie's boyfriend knew about the trip from the beginning and she was already gonna include him. I don't know. We can't make these assumptions. This is what annoys me about Reddit sometimes, the level of assumption making. Yes, that is one potential option, but who are you to be creating this narrative unless you are a fly on the wall of that bestie's house? How do you know, sir? How do you know? This was no last minute decision, says this commenter. The other boyfriend, maybe he was a late addition, but it's much easier to add a second guy when the first guy was already going to be included. I mean, this does have 56 upvotes, and again, I can see how this could have been a contemplation. At the same time, I can also see a world in which it couldn't. And we have to judge these things on face value, right? OP has not told us this. OP has told us that actually the husband mentioned something later on, felt a little bit of FOMO, and now Bestie has decided to include him unfairly, I think, without checking with you guys first, sure. And whilst we cannot know if this is a truth or not, it does bring up one good point in which you could just ask. You could just clarify and be like, hey babe, did you always see this as something that our partners would come into? Because my partner's not available. And I've known that for a while and I've been really excited about the idea of an OG trip. I don't know, that's my approach, that's how I would do it. I would probably have some hard feelings, to be fair. I'd be like, oh, I feel like this has been changed in a way that I can't enjoy in the same way. I don't want the air mattress, but you know what, you guys go off and do your thing, because I don't want to ruin it. And I think in an ideal world, what should happen, the right thing to do, if this is like the happy ending in a movie, would be that the friend goes, oh, you know what, you're right, I didn't think of this through. I didn't see it in this way. Husband, sit your butt down. You can join us at the next one. This is going to be just our little girls trip, as we had initially planned. All the money's already been spent this way. Let's go. And it'll be cute and it'll be lovely. And then, you know what? If your bestie wants to introduce a couple's trip next time, then you can have all of the excitement as a group planning for your next one where all of your couples can come along. You can go as like a sixsome. That's a word now. Yeah. Drama. Am I the drama for losing my cool when my uncle claimed that cancer treatments are a scam? Oh Lord, why is it always uncles? Have you noticed that? It's always the goddamn uncles. Oy, I don't know if this is just me. Let me know if you've also been seeing this. The discourse around Big Pharma, and specifically things like cancer and cancer treatments, has been quite heavy recently. I personally think it's a testament to how powerful storytelling is as a platform and as a tool of like changing discourse and encouraging discourse in society. There have been a number of really big shows. Like, we all know that platforms like Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, like these are the boss platforms. If there is a show on like the top 10 of these platforms, people are going to be talking about it. And that's why I say that storytelling is the most important weapon, the most powerful tool that we have, and why we need to be really considerate about things like representation and ensuring that the stories that we are sharing are ones that we want to share with messages that are considered. Because of exactly this, there has been too many examples, I think, especially in sort of like the world of true crime, which is absolutely getting a huge buzz right now, of shows profiling people who have scammed and made a lot of money out of the vulnerability of things like cancer. And cancer treatment alternatives in particular, shows like Apple Cider Vinegar, which shines a very brutal light on Belle Gibson and how she made a lot of money out of implied cancer scams. And I also find that scams generally are a conversation that's really booming right now because there are just so many more ways to be scammed. I think of like the boomer generation who didn't grow up with the internet and where it's like perhaps less intuitive to be able to see a difference between what is an official email versus what's a scammy email. Or, you know, the text tone of someone who's actually your child being like, hey, Venmo me X amount, versus what is clearly, I say clearly, that's my point, what clearly to me, because I grew up on the internet understanding things like tone in a more native and intuitive way than people who didn't grow up with phones and computers. But yeah, it's absolutely not intuitive to some other people, especially in the world of AI. The number of videos I see going around right now because of generative AI being like, hey, grandpa, look, the world is ending. Can you see this comet? It's fake because I'm AI. And the person like melts into a pizza slice or whatever, because the whole point of it is to show how easy it is to doctor things. So I don't know, I just feel icky, more icky than usual about what the future holds for conversations like this and people like this, because I just feel like conspiracy theories are gonna get a whole new bout of attention. You're right, let's see if we can help this person out. I, says O Peach, am a 28-year-old female cancer researcher at a top-ranked university. During dinner with my family last week, my 55-year-old uncle began complaining about how, quote, big pharma is concealing cancer cures and how the treatment that I work to design are nothing more than, quote, money makers and don't work. This is exactly what I'm talking about. It makes my heart sink. And the reality is, both things can be true, right? Whoa, hang on, wait. Let me clarify what I said just there. Absolutely, there can be wonderful, life-saving, incredible research, right? That is only accessible through, quote-unquote, big pharma. The network of pharmaceutical industry that also, point B, happens to profit a lot and can be corrupt. Both things can be true. And it makes it really difficult because people then meld the two together and be like, well, therefore all of the research must therefore be bad and corrupt. And it's just like, see the grey areas, please. Hope he continues. They all just nodded in agreement. What, your family? Oh, Lord. I attempted to calmly illustrate the way that cancer research is actually conducted, but he just interrupted with internet-derived conspiracy theories that he'd learned. I mentioned my years working in the lab, I mentioned my PhD, and he giggled and said, they brainwashed you good in that fancy school. There are very few moments that I've wanted a fish to slap someone with. This is definitely one of them. I was frustrated, but I remained calm until he mentioned those with cancer can just, quote, drink alkaline water and take vitamin C in lieu of chemo. My mum's closest friend actually passed away attempting this nonsense rather than undergoing treatment. At this point, I really do encourage you to watch Apple Cider Vinegar, because whilst Belle Gibson may have been a incredibly troubled person, I also think that the show, I'm not going to say truthfully or accurately, because actually in reading about it, there's so much that's sensationalized for these shows in the name of good TV at the expense of the accuracy of a story. However, I do think that the show, regardless of whether it's true or not, does a fantastic job of sharing various perspectives about this issue from people who do have cancer, but also people who are trying to do their best for those people. It is so tricky, and ultimately I think as with many things in life, it comes down to autonomy, right? Doing what you want to do for your body. But it does frustrate me so much when people prey on the vulnerable and the hope of the vulnerable to not allow people to make those decisions in a fully informed way. When you're feeding people crap, saying, hey, vitamin C does what chemo does. What? Like, in what world? You might as well be saying, you know what? Eat a strawberry. Eat a strawberry. You can stay out of hospital. But at the same time, these kind of conversations shouldn't diminish from the perspectives of people who don't want to undergo really heavy invasive treatment. Perhaps it's not their first time. Perhaps they're older. Perhaps they just don't want to. It's very tricky. Let's just finish the post. I keep digressing. I lost it, says OP, finally, and I told him that he is horribly ignorant and people die from the misinformation that he dispenses. I brought up actual peer-reviewed research on my phone and attempted to demonstrate to everyone, but he referred to it as being propaganda. Of course he would, because with some people, there is just no listening. You might as well be talking to a sponge. A literal kitchen sponge would absorb facts better. These people do my nut in. When I criticised him for never having even completed high school, my aunt got agitated. And they cut the visit short. Good riddance. Please go. Now my parents are complaining that I'm being elitist and should have just respected his different viewpoint. But spreading lethal misinformation isn't a viewpoint. Am I therefore the drama for criticizing my uncle's unsafe medical ignorance? No. I don't think you are the drama at all. Honestly, I think the media is the biggest drama out of this. Yes, your uncle is absolutely the drama. Obviously, we know that. But beyond that, I really think we as a society, but specifically our governing bodies, has to find a way to tackle misinformation. It is wildfire. It is our biggest threat as a society. It is the number one fuel of culture war, of marginalized rights going backwards and progressing in many ways. And it's f***ing scary, dude. It's absolutely terrifying. And I have faith. I really do have faith in younger generations, because I feel like what we're seeing, as well as culture wars sort of like between left and right, is also a culture war in terms of age differences, but one that stems from an understanding of the need to be fully informed. And you know when they say that you can't teach old dogs new tricks? Sometimes it's important for you to preserve your own sanity to not try and fight or change the viewpoints of people who you know are never going to change. People like this, who are so stuck in their ways, who are so blinkered and so unwilling to listen to any viewpoint that doesn't align with their own, is not one worth your time. And I can understand how frustrating it can be, and I can understand how hurtful it can be, specifically in situations like this. Do you know what this makes me think of? COVID. The amount of times that people were like, oh, COVID is a conspiracy. I don't want to be under these government rules, talking the most selfish spouts of crap to people who have lost their loved ones in this unprecedented world event. The absolute idiocy of some people will never cease to astound me. But you, my love, are absolutely not the drama, and I thank you for all of the incredible work that you are doing to progress our peer-reviewed medical scientific research in this space. I have a friend who's working in cancer research at the moment. She is absolutely incredible. She is a hugely magical, pure being of a being, and you know, those people are just such good eggs in this world, and I can't catch up with her very often at the moment. She's on the other side of the world, but whenever I do, I'm just in awe of everything that she's doing. It is so cool to see how technology and advances in our understanding and our knowledge as a society can genuinely really help huge groups of people. Like, did you know, this is just a chance for me to share some good in the world, that there are teams that have developed these at-home kits which literally from your saliva can detect certain cancers in really early stages, which means that you are so much more likely to be able to get it treated. It's so incredible to think that we've come from a society where back in the day having a tooth infection could literally be lethal, to now being able to save lives in a way that people in the 1800s would be so shook. They would just not believe. They call this like sorcery. My toxic positivity showing again. Whoop, this is just living out there. I just think it's very cool that as a society we're actually capable of hugely great things. Yeah. This comment says, I am a cancer survivor and I survived because I went through treatment. Steve Jobs didn't survive because he just ate fresh fruit and didn't go through treatment. People like this piss me off to no end, and I would have just told him to drop the subject or I would leave. That being said, he was the one dismissing your quote-unquote viewpoint, which we all know is reality, by just hand-waving away any supporting evidence that you try to use for your claims. He was the one that was unwilling to actually have a conversation or entertain different ideas, and he literally called you brainwashed, not the drama, and if it were me, I wouldn't have been nearly as nice about it. I wonder, stupid Uncle Terry, whatever your name is, if he would have been as loudmouthed to someone who he'd known had gone through cancer in the way that this commenter has. And you know what? I hope he never has to experience it, because he would not be a very good source of support. You're a smart person who acts smart and an educated person who uses their education. Of course dumbasses will call you elitist. Strange how if a mechanic tells them what's wrong with their car, they believe the mechanic. If a gardener tells them why a certain plant isn't doing well, they believe the gardener. But doctors and medical researchers, no, they're elitist. You know, I think about this all the time in terms of things like trans rights. Like, just use one brain cell. Either you value expertise or you don't value expertise. And if you value expertise, you are the kind of person that will not go to a cake baker to get your car fixed. You go to a mechanic to get your car fixed because you realize and go, yes, this person has much more lived experience tinkering with cars than I do. This person has been trained to tinker with cars in ways that I do not. So if my car is poorly, my car can be fixed by this expert. Like, expertise is an overarching principle. Do you know what I'm saying? So So why is it that when medical researchers will turn around, the literal British Medical Association will say the Supreme Court is being scientifically illiterate, trans people exist? And when lived experience does clearly matter in terms of cars and mechanics, the same people can't go, you know what? I don't know anything about trans people. I don't really spend time as a trans person. Maybe I should listen to trans people about trans things. Maybe I should listen to people of color when I talk about people of color issues. No, they don't value expertise in that sense. They won't listen to a doctor. Instead, they'll listen to a lying, fish-faced, overpaid, corrupt salesman just because he calls himself the leader of a political party, despite having no credentials or any lived experience. And yet they'll still go to a mechanic if they have car issues. It doesn't make sense to me. You either value expertise or you do not. Anyway, that was a huge digression. Obviously, OP, you are not the drama. I'm sorry that you're having to put up with this. I'm hoping that you don't have to put up with this for too much longer. And with a growing sense of autonomy, you can distance yourself from terrible, annoying, asshole people like your uncle and not just have them in your life because they're family. Drama. Am I the drama for expecting tequilas in the margaritas? I don't know what a margarita is. Let me just quickly Google that. Margarita. A margarita is a cocktail consisting of tequila, triple sec, and lime juice. See, now I'm going to have to Google triple sec, and that's going to have an ingredient I'm going to have to Google too, and then we're going to get into like a 2-hour ADHD wormhole about how to make certain cocktails. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to show you this pretty picture of a margarita and summarize that typically margaritas have tequila inside. Okay, Ophi says, I'm a 35-year-old man and my wife, a 33-year-old woman, got invited to a party at her co-worker's house. I reluctantly went because the only person that I would know is my wife. This is a relatively new job for her and she wanted to be able to meet and mingle with her co-workers outside of work. Her understanding of it all was we didn't need to bring anything but ourselves. Oh no, did you need to bring something? Was this a massive faux pas? You weren't to know, you're new, this is forgiven. We show up and it seems like a lively party. A pool with a bar area, there's music playing. They had a margarita machine and a ton of food. My wife got talking so I excused myself to grab a drink. This is all sounding so fine so far. The margarita machine was calling my name, says OP, so I filled my cup and I grabbed my wife a margarita too. I went back to my wife and I started drinking and realized that there wasn't any tequila in it. And that's when I noticed that there was no alcohol being around. Interesting. The host was tending to the machine and I asked if there was any tequila. She looked at me confused and then said, no, there is no tequila. I said, oh, I thought this was a party. What a weird thing to say. She took offense at this, so would I, and says it is just a dry one. Imagine being like, I thought this was a party. Fair enough. If you're expecting alcohol, I'm not going to judge you for expecting there to be alcohol at a party. But why are you then judging other people for not providing alcohol? Especially if it's a work party. Like, yes, there are absolutely occasions that I have seen and witnessed and experienced in which there are both alcohol and employees. But most times they are dry events. You still have to maintain like a level of professionalism. But imagine being invited as a +1 to help your wife increase her reputation and fit in her new workplace and being like, I thought this was a party. You're the drama, babe. You are the drama. I'm calling it right now. I awkwardly left it at that, says OP. I poured out my drink. Wow, you really didn't like it. And I grabbed some water. The host asks if there was something wrong with it. And I said I wasn't interested in drinking straight sugar. Oh my gosh. That is so bizarre. It's just such a bizarre mindset to have. Imagine calling mocktails just straight sugar. Do you never have juice then? Do you never have like a slushie? Do you not eat desserts? Do you throw those in the bin because you're not interested in eating straight sugar? How bizarre, how bizarre. I walked back to my wife, says OP. I kept to myself. I ate some food for the few hours that we were there and it made it back to my wife that I was an asshole to the host, which caused a minor argument between us. Was I though? Yes. Yes, I have no hesitation in saying you absolutely were. And I'm confused as to how you cannot see it. Yes, you are the drama. You really have to ask. Okay, I'm so glad this is clear to other people. You should have at least waited until you were away from the host to dump your drink. And your I thought it was a party line was rude. Honestly, that was it. It was that line only that pissed me off. If you're gonna like throw away your drink, if you don't like something, you don't have to drink it. I went to an event recently and it was very, very warm. We've been having a huge heat wave here in the UK. Our buildings are not equipped for it, okay? Before people are like, oh, UK people complaining about the heat. Dude, it was so hot. It was so friggin' hot. My face was melting thing. I grabbed the first non-alcoholic drink I could find, only non-alcoholic drink that I could find. And the whole thing tasted like cucumber and also pickles. It was odd. It was a really, really bizarre drink, but it looked super fancy. And I couldn't just be like, you know, I'm not going to do that in front of the host of the event. But I was like, and I just left it on the table. As soon as I could walk away and dissociate myself from its presence, I did just that. You should never be forced to drink something you don't want to drink. You don't like your mocktail tequila, your maquila. No, what's it called? Your margarita? Your mofogarita? Oh, my pun game is not strong today. Whatever the cute, funny, punny mocktail name would be for a margarita is, you don't have to drink it. But don't insult the people who made it, dude. And in a way that implies that you need alcohol in order for it to be a party, that's just a bit rude. It's lame. It's lame behavior. It's very frat boy and I don't approve. It's not gonna look for your wife. Don't do that. Don't do that. You made your wife look bad, exactly, to her new co-workers. With the way that office gossip works, by the time this story makes a few more rounds, they'll all have convinced themselves that you're a full-blown alcoholic. I don't think that that will be the case, but they will be like, raising an eyebrow. This person expects that to be alcohol for a party to be good. Which is exactly what you sound like if you complain about a dry work party with brand new people that you've never met. Very this, very this. You are the drama, not knowing the host. The only appropriate response to not finding alcohol at a party is, okay, cool. And then you let it go. You channel your inner Elsa and you let that shit go. Especially considering that you went to help your wife network at a new job. OP, this was absolutely a best behavior moment and you failed. To then double down by saying that you weren't interested in it dry is pretty terrible. I do agree. I do agree. This is not great behavior. You are the drama. Some people are sober. Some people don't drink for religious reasons. Some people just don't drink. Not being able to tolerate a single party without alcohol is indicative of a you problem. I couldn't have said it better myself. And even if you do have a problem, you can still have tact. You demonstrated none in this scenario. Ooh, talk about a mic drop moment. Do you know what it's giving? It's giving going to a vegetarian's house and they're hosting a meal and you being like, but where's the meat? And then being like, well, there's no meat. And you being like, well, it's not good if there's no meat. Like, you don't do that. You don't do that. Just because what you do is different to what someone else does doesn't mean that what you do is better than what someone else does. And you certainly don't do that if the people that you are insulting are your partner's new colleagues while she is trying to build a relationship. Like, use a brain cell, dude. Oh, people piss me off today. Drama. Alright, our final submission today is from an Peach over at the 1-800-DRAMA subreddit. If you too would like to submit your own drama or help some other peaches out, because we can't get around to as many posts that are being put on there asking for advice, please do feel free to head over there and do so. And this peach asks us, would I be the drama? Oh, 2 in 1 episode, we're being spoiled, for telling my friend to give up on a guy. For those of you new here, I love a good would I be the drama moment because it's not happened yet. That means there's still time to save it, so if you would like to help Peach out, of course feel free to head over to the subreddit, but you can also get your fuzzy butts downstairs in the comments section and leave your suggestions there. But do remember to be kind. Actually, I do have something to say about that. I didn't mention it at the beginning of the video because I forgot. But no, serious moment, serious Shaaba face. I do really want to call out some behavior that I've been seeing in the comment section. I don't look at comments often. I try not to look at comments often because if I'm being really honest with you, I'm not having a great time with them. I do think that comments now, the internet generally now, is a very different place to what it used to be. I love that this podcast is growing. I love it. I love the fact that our community is growing, but I do see a lot of people who clearly have not been here from the beginning and do not encapsulate the same Peach values. And I'm just gonna be really honest with you. If I do see this behavior, and if my team who helps me regulate these comments and these areas see unfair or unkind behavior, I will block that shit and they will block that shit. I have hidden probably about 30 different users. Do you know I will not tolerate? Do you know I will not accept at all? You can call me whatever you want. You cannot like the judgments that I give. And I say we don't need to agree. We don't need to have the same badges. And it's not often the badge that is the most important thing in these scenarios that we explore. The reason that we explore these grey areas are because they are grey. We are not always going to see them the same. What I do ask is for people to be kind. And what I saw that royally pissed me off were people judging other people for the badges that they gave. Somebody actually called someone else, one commenter, one Peach, called another Peach that had a different badge to them, the drama for having a different badge. When they had explained their viewpoint very clearly and very kindly, and they were called a moocher, and that pissed me the fuck off. Don't be doing that. Do not be doing that in these comment sections. Have your viewpoints, share your viewpoints respectfully, interact with other other people who are sharing their viewpoints respectfully. And if you don't do that, you don't have a right to be here. This is my corner of the internet. This is my bubble. And you best believe I'm going to use the tools that I have to curate that in a way that is a safe space for everybody who deserves to enjoy the space and share their viewpoints in a kind way. Be kind. Be kind. Okay, put my mama Shaaba hat to one side. Let's see if we can help this peach out. I am a 26-year-old woman and I have a friend who has a crush that I personally think isn't a good idea. My friend, let's call her Rachel, who's 27, goes to the gym regularly and has developed a crush on a guy who goes to the same gym as her, Josh, a 27-year-old man. Josh seems like a nice guy. Oh, that phrase is not what it used to be. I'm sure this peach is meaning it as nice guy, but you know, there's also nice guys. So let's be aware of that. Anyway, Josh seems like a nice guy and I've met him on the few times that I've picked up Rachel from the gym. Now the thing about Josh is that he has a girlfriend. Oh. From what I can tell, Josh and this other girl have been together for 1, maybe 2 years now, and they seem to really like each other, to the point that others have commented on how lovey-dovey they are all the time. I'm confused. Do you know the girlfriend? Is Rachel not being put off by the fact that Josh has a girlfriend? Like, you can have a crush on someone who's taken, that's fine. A crush doesn't need to develop into something more. It's when a crush turns into a bite, that's when the problem occurs. Let's read on. This has not deterred Rachel, and she seems really rude about Josh's girlfriend, calling her stuff like a whiny pick-me behind her back. Well, we all know where that's coming from, right? I've expressed to her that she really doesn't want to be the other woman in this situation, and that she shouldn't try to mess things up between them, but some of our other mutual friends have said that I'm being mean and shouldn't be trying to get in her way with this. What is happening? Are you all friends? I need to know. Are you friends with Josh's girlfriend? Like, do you know Josh's girlfriend? Because it sounds like this is what's happening, you know, like that Rachel's like, oh, she's a whiny pick-me. So what is that being based off of? Just the fact that Josh is with her? And when we say the other woman, does that mean that Josh has reciprocated an interest? Has Rachel communicated this crush on Josh to Josh? And is Josh like, oh yes, come be my side piece, mama? Like, is that what's happening right now? And your friends are somehow okay with this? Or are your friends like, it's okay, it's a harmless crush, just let her say what she needs to say? Obviously Josh is taken, this isn't gonna go anywhere, let Rachel be Rachel. I need more information. This is my badge. Let's read to the end of the post though. Rachel and I have been friends since the end of middle school and I really don't want to lose our friendship, but I also cannot stand to see her trying to mess with what seems like a really happy couple. Would I therefore be the drama if I said this to her plainly and told her to just get over him? Damn it. I feel like I need to stick with this badge, which is need more information. However, as with many of these stories, I do think the advice is more important than the badge, and what I would say in this situation is there are two paths, right? There's a world in which this is just a harmless crush, in which case let her have her crush. I hear what your friends are saying. It doesn't need to be a serious thing. It could be that you're treating this in a way that's way more serious than Rachel ever sort of like intends this to go to. And sure, whilst I can see it's not nice to hear someone being defamed, right? Is that the word? Defamatory? Being spoken about in a derogatory way when you don't know who they are. Like, it seems like maybe Rachel doesn't know too much about Josh's partner. In these situations, we in one ear and out the other. It's like when a friend comes to you and they're like, oh, I have this person at work and they're really annoying me, and you're like, yeah, what a like, you have no idea who they are or what they're like. In that moment, you're just being a good friend because that's what that moment requires. So maybe it's that situation. However, if Rachel is actually actively plotting to mess with what seems like a really happy couple, as you say, that's more than just a crush. That's not okay. And I absolutely would think that it is your role as a friend to speak your mind, especially when it comes to caring for a friend, because it seems like you care for Rachel. You don't want this relationship to go wrong, but you also don't want her to be doing the wrong thing. And that's what friends do. We share things to help the ones we love, and sometimes the truth hurts, but it needs to be heard. And if the bestie's not going to do it, who else is? Either way, I'm a very big cheerleader of the idea that if you have a friendship, if you have a meaningful connection with someone, you should never feel afraid to say how you feel. It is your prerogative to share how you feel. It doesn't mean that that person has to listen, but they shouldn't be mad at you, especially if what you're doing is trying to act in their best interest, and look out for them. I'm sure if you had this conversation and Rachel isn't trying to be like super manipulative and actually break up a relationship in some like mastermind level plot, it could end up just being like a really silly, I know I just really fancy him, but obviously I'm not going to do anything. I'm not that kind of person. If they're in a monogamous relationship, you'll leave that shit alone. But if not, and she actually is, and this is why we need the more information, then yeah, maybe she's not a fantastic person to be friends with. Maybe that speaks more to the values where you guys have grown a little bit apart and she needs to spend some time working on herself. Either Either way, my love, I wish you the best of luck, and I want to remind you that you're not doing this alone. There are other friends here who can also hear and see this. So, you know, it might be a good idea to kind of bounce some of those ideas off of them. Be like, hey, is this truly problematic behavior coming from Rachel, or am I just taking very seriously what she's seeing as a little bit of fun? That would be my advice. Peaches, whether you agree or not though, please do get your fuzzy butts downstairs and see if you can help Peach out. Not the drama, says somebody else. Rachel's feelings for Josh in themselves are perfectly valid, but so is Josh's existing relationship. That is such a wonderful way to phrase it. And I should say, whilst I'm saying need more information, I of course don't think that you're the drama. Like, that is my predominant thought in this situation. Rachel has no right to try and insert herself between the two of them if that's what she's trying to do, which seems to be maybe the case. And if that is the case, like, your friends are being really problematic too and just being like, oh, let her get on with it. Like, no. No. And it's really disrespectful of her to be rude about Josh's girlfriend just because she wants to be with him. I honestly think that you'd be doing the responsible thing as a friend if you told her that she needs to get over him and move on, since he's clearly unavailable, and that's all there is to it. See these peaches, they're a good bunch, aren't they? I'm sorry I had to tell some of you off beforehand, but that is very cute. Not the drama, in my opinion. You're being an actual friend here. Friends do not let friends ruin others' lives. Yes, there are some things that you just don't feel you need to say in life. That's kind of one of them, but I appreciate the PSA. What your friend is doing is immature or straight out of a soap opera and doesn't really work in real life. It often doesn't even work out in those dramas either. If she keeps this up, even though you told her multiple times kindly that this is a bad idea, I would then take a step back. Set a boundary that if she plans on keeping it up, you'd like to be kept out of the loop, and at that moment you have to watch out for you. I do agree. I think maybe this is my toxic positivity. I didn't see this being in this way, and maybe it's just different interpretations of the word crush. For me, a crush is like an ongoing infatuation, which you can have from a whole range of people, like TV characters to your workout buddy at the gym, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you act on it. So maybe that's where like the difference of opinion is coming from. But yeah, if it's gone beyond a crush and is turning into actual steps to try and break up a relationship, that is not okay. Best of luck, Peach, and possibly best of luck to Josh and his girlfriend too. Thank you so much, Peaches, for joining me on today's episode. Remember that if you enjoyed it, you can give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe to this channel if you're watching this over on YouTube, or if you're watching this over on a Spotify or other podcast platform. You can rate each episode individually as well as the podcast overall. I'll catch you next time with another video. In the meantime, please feel free to check out Surfshark if you would like to. Be kind and have a great day. Bye.